Pregame.com.
Oklahoma State minus 27 at Iowa State. Friday college football. All right, Marco, this is going to be not so much a handicap of this game, but kind of a new school wise guy, old school wise guy discussion. So let's start. You will be the old school representative.
How did I know that was coming?
Who would have to be sitting here? It's like, Marco, you're new school. Like Lem Banker, you know. But the fact of the matter is, back in the day, and in the day really 5, 6, 7 years ago, a sharp would be looking, or let's say a vast majority of sharps would be looking at the dog or the pass here. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the things that we've seen in the last 5 or 6 years, and it's kind of that whole positive EV poker mentality is, hey, we understand you probably have more of an uphill climb if you're going to lay 20 plus on the road, but we're not automatically not going to do that. So first off, how have you evolved at all when it comes, like, do you ever you don't usually play games that have big point spreads. Do you ever lay 21?
I don't like to do it. It's got to be I did it on a Friday night game this year with Boise State whenever they were on the road. I did do it with them. I got to be honest. Last week on the videos we did Oklahoma State was one of the videos, and I went against them last week, and the reason being was
there's value. It's inflated line.
It was.
But that's the funny thing. That's my point is, and I'm not saying you're wrong because I feel the same. That's my first instinct. I'm saying that I'm trying to learn that when a team is motivated, and maybe that's where we start this conversation, is the motivation factor. But I'm sorry, go ahead, finish your point.
The situation, I mean, for last week, and obviously they got blown out. The only good thing was that the outcome was decided early. I didn't have to sweat it in the fourth quarter. But the situation was, here's a team that after what transpired the week before, the way things played out with the games, Oklahoma State now had a clear shot to the national championship game. They control their own destiny. Straight ahead, they got one obstacle, and that's it. That's Oklahoma at the end of the season. And the fact that they were laying a big number on the road last week, and they had this game coming up on Friday night, I thought it was a spot that maybe this team will get a little lackadaisical, maybe start playing, taking it easy because, waiting for the big game, trying to get through without getting hurt. Because they don't need style points anymore. Before, when they were still trying to jockey for position, style points were a factor. But they're in the spot that all they got to do is win, and they're going to be playing for it. So style points went out. But I was wrong. They still rolled the team, and this team has an offense.
Let's look at some numbers. They've covered 21 of 26 as a road favorite. Now, 21 winners, imagine 21 Twinkies on one side, 5 Twinkies over here. It'd be a real different pile.
I'd rather go with
it'd be like, Oreos. You know what would happen though? It'd be, all right, 25 Oreos, 5. I would turn and come back and it'd be 24. So we can't.
It'd be less than 24. You'd have to be awful quick turn not to be more.
21 and 5 is humongous. Additionally, whenever they're laying double digits, they've covered 29 of 39. So, one, we talked about motivation. This team is at a fever pitch. I don't think, though I agree with you that at this point style points aren't the issue, I just think it's in their DNA at this point. It's in their mindset that we're going to roll.
It's almost, unfortunately, I got to watch them running up and down the field last week. The team, in addition to that, they're generally having fun. This team is having fun in this offense. And they've got, what's the quarterback, 27, 28 years old, Oklahoma State?
There was like 5 NFL quarterbacks that are younger or something.
And I'll give you a stat, though, aside from obviously they're blowing everybody out. In the last 2 years in conference play, this team is 12-3 against the spread, and they're averaging 45 points a game in those 15 games.
So on Twitter, there was a conversation because the AP Top 10 has been doing so well, and it's cooled a little bit, but still, on the year, it's crazy. Right. And there a couple people, I was one that thought style points, is these teams are so motivated, because everyone was saying, who cares about style points? And it's like, wait a minute, you're acting like that it's for sure that there's going to be no one-loss teams. But I don't know if it's once or only twice. There's only been undefeated teams, I think once or twice, since the BCS started, both teams being undefeated. So there was always at least one one-loss team. Remember, when LSU beat Ohio State, they had 2 losses in that game. So the idea of where you are in the rankings matters pretty much constantly. We always talked about how West Virginia was a 28-point favorite to actually, all they had to do was win the game to play against Pitt. And they lost the game as a 28-point favorite. Rich Rod would have had a national championship shot at least. And so I think these teams are always thinking about that. And now we're back to, if Oklahoma beats Oklahoma State, we're going to have a one-loss team in there.
You're going to, and you know what, and really to put it into really a mix, there's a team out there. It has nothing to do with this game, but I just want to throw it out there to get the conversation going. Arkansas, that's flying under the radar that nobody's talking about. If Arkansas upsets LSU on Thanksgiving weekend, because that's a rivalry game for those two. They play every Thanksgiving. Their only loss on the season is going to be to Alabama. What do you do now? And that was on the road. Where do you do with Arkansas?
Well, it's going to be interesting because really it's going to be interesting because if that does or doesn't happen, you got Oregon who very possibly only lost to the #1 team. Now you got Alabama that's only lost to the #1 team. Assuming LSU wins out. Now, if somehow, some way LSU loses, now it's like LSU has beat Alabama and Oregon. You know, a lot of people are saying LSU would be in there even if they do lose the game. So it's going to be very interesting for sure. Back to this game, though. One of the other things they were talking about on Twitter, it's not just style points that's causing these blowouts, but it's the pace of the game. That with a computer, a lot of the computers that look at this is how many yards do you make per play or how many points per play. Might be .00 whatever points per play. But if you have 30% more plays, you're going to have 30% more points. And these teams play so fast that I just kind of think Vegas might be behind in these numbers a little bit, which makes laying these big 3+ touchdowns on the road not as bad as it used to be. One other point, and this came up when we were talking with Chris Andrews, who is one of the voters in Vegas Rankings, which you can check that out at vegasrankings.com, where we have multiple guys here in Vegas, sportsbook guys, batters that actually are ranking all of the teams in the NFL and in college. He said, let's look at a situation where you have an Oklahoma State. And he said, they might be clearly an inferior team to an Oklahoma, to an Alabama. But if Alabama and Oklahoma State both played the 70th best team in the country, Iowa State, there's a chance, I would probably bet it myself, that Oklahoma, if you play that game 100 times, Oklahoma State's going to have a greater margin of victory. So wait a minute, in a way there should be 2 power rankings. One is how good you are against really good teams and how good you are against average or worse teams. And I think we're seeing that with Boise. I mean, the history was the old Michigans and the old Ohio States in the 70s and 80s was, well, fade them when they're laying 28, they're going to run the ball. But nowadays you got the teams that are fast-paced, laying the big number. I'm not sure they're an automatic fade.
One other point with road teams, with these favorites, there's 2 factors to also factor in on it. One, when you're on the road, obviously you're laying a smaller number because you're on the road. 2, these teams, when they do get the big leads, a lot of times some coaches will start putting players in to give them exposure. Your bench isn't as deep on the road. You don't carry as many players with you on the road. So if you're at home and you want to get all of the players in, you got to really get down the line to get everybody in there. So you're not going to the bottom of the crop if you're emptying the bench.
So what you're saying is if Rudy's last game was on the road,
he wouldn't have been dressing
or playing.
But and when these kids, and the other thing is, there used to be the old you don't run up the score, but when you get players in the game that aren't normal players, they don't tell them to. They let because they want them to score. They want them to get their names in the playbook.
So I'm going to lean towards the favorite here. I got to be honest with you. I don't know if I've ever done this before, but I'm going to lean Oklahoma State 50-20. So a couple points over the 27. I'm not betting it. I'm leaning that way. But if I'm on the same side as the guy who's handicapping from the USA Today sports section, I'm always a little uncomfortable. I can't lie. All right. Before we finish up here, you've been doing something really cool. A podcast every Friday. Gil Alexander hosts it. Tell us a little bit about it.
Gil Alexander hosts. Vegas Runners on is a regular. I'm on as a regular, and then we have a floating third guest. And Johnny Detroit's been on several times. We've had
guys outside pregame oftentimes.
Outside of pregame, Dave Tooley did it once. A friend of pregame. This week, and we're hoping, he was supposed to be on last week, and he had something come up he couldn't do it.
President Obama.
No.
Oh, shit.
Nick Bakay is going to be on this week. So if you've seen him, he's been on the football pregame shows and that, and he was the writer for King of Queens TV show and that. So we're looking forward to having him on Friday.
Don't try to out-joke him.
I'm going to try to get one in. I have to. I'm going to try to get one in.
Now, just to let you guys know, Marco whispered right before this show. He goes, "Hey, right." Hey, is this on? He said, I picked Arizona and Seattle straight up on the show last week. So he wanted you guys to know that. You can check out all of our podcasts at pregamepods.com, pregamepods, P-O-D-S.com. And as we fade out here, we put all of our videos in one forum thread. In the forum, we have a continuing conversation. All of the participants take part. So any questions you have, you can ask them or get it at pregamevideos.com. Talk to you there.